beautiful people. So today we are going to we're going to recap and review Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 3, Episode 1, titled Revenge Marks the Spot. If you don't already know from all of the Housewives series, this is one of my absolute favorite Housewives series and also Real Housewives of Potomac. So you could imagine how excited I was to know that it is back. I was happy that season 3 started and I'm able to watch and review all my favorite ladies are back. We have Heather back, Whitney back, Meredith, Lisa, Jen. Wow. So yes, I am so excited about this recap and the review. So let's get started. So the way they started off this episode was they showed us the ladies their audition tape from 2019 about what they do for a living and so on and so forth. And then we see where Jen says she gave us a description of her job, and as we all know what's going on with social media as far as her, and they even showed it on the last season where Jen was arrested along with some co-conspirators, including her assistant, who we all thought was too old to be an assistant, Stuart, who took a plea deal, and Jen was going to trial, but eventually she ended up taking a plea deal. So we saw all of that unfold in social media over the break and stuff. But she is back on the show, and based on the fact that she is not gonna get sentenced until November 28th. She was able to film the whole season, I guess. So on November 28th of this year, 2022, we'll find out exactly, how much time Jen will be spending in jail, if any. And I think she will be spending some time in jail. A couple of the charges were dropped based on her plea deal or whatever they'd investigated, but she is going to do some time in jail, I think. But let's get into it. We'll discuss this a little bit more as we go down the line, as she's having a conversation with Sharif, Coach Shah. But let's get into it. So they showed the audition tapes from 2019, and then they showed the highlights from this season 3. Okay, with that done now, they start off the episode. We see Whitney at home. She's doing meditation. Then we have some of the ladies meeting up for lunch. We have Jen and Meredith meeting up, and they go to a spa. I know, right? Like they said in it, you would never think this would happen, because at the end of the season, on the very last episode, when there was a dinner, we had Meredith leaving out. Her and Jen got into an altercation or argument, and we had her leaving out saying she could spill everybody's secrets on the show. So to find out that her and Jen are actually squashing things and moving forward, that was good to see. Then we see Heather and Lisa meeting up for lunch, and like Heather told us, she said if she could do something, she said she feels that Lisa was scraping the bottom of the barrel, but to call her to have lunch, but she feels that she could do something to help Lisa. Maybe Lisa won't be so mean to her and actually like her, because we all know what Lisa was saying about Heather. And Heather is my favorite on this entire cast because she's the most down-to-earth one. What she was saying about Heather and, body image and stuff like that. Lisa said a lot of mean things about people on the show. But we're going to get into that as we go down the line also. This episode was really interesting to me. So we have Heather and Lisa meeting up for lunch, and the reason why Lisa wanted to meet with Heather is because she wants Heather to help her talk to Meredith. She feels that Heather is the impartial one of the group, and Meredith would listen to her, and maybe she could talk to Meredith. So she's asking Heather, what should I do? What should I say? Well, Heather told her, girl, you said a lot of mean things, and you're going to have to own that, and you're going to have to eat humble pie for a long time. You have to take the whole brunt of everything you said. And if you guys don't remember what was said when the ladies went on that trip to Vail, and I think Lisa and Meredith fell out. Lisa went into the room. She thought she wasn't mic'd, and she said a lot of nasty things about Meredith, including the fact that Meredith doesn't own a home. What does Meredith and her family do for a living? We all know Meredith owns a brand. Everybody does clothing line, and she's saying that Seth didn't work and stuff like that. She also made a comment that Meredith has been unfaithful in her marriage and have lots of affairs in New York and stuff like that. And they've known each other for 10 years. So with her spewing that, Meredith thought she had a confidant on her side, as she said, but come to find out, Lisa is really not a friend. She thought she was not Mike, and all of that came out spilling in the room. So it caused a big rift between Meredith and Lisa, and we find out that they haven't spoken to each other in over 2 months. And to Meredith's point, when Seth asked her, have you called her? She's like, why should I call her? And I agree. Why should Meredith call her? It was Lisa who said all those nasty things about her. Why am I going to call her for her to try to make her feel better? No. Mm-mm. So with that said now, Heather told Lisa, basically, girl, you're going to have to eat humble pie and make it work for you. And then Lisa's like, I've eaten so much humble pie. It's amazing that I fit into this dress. I'm like, God, this girl is something else. She really don't think she did anything wrong. All right, so we leave the ladies there. Jen and Meredith at the spa. Jen was letting Meredith know that she's having a 51st birthday party for Coach Shah, and she really planned to invite John and Lisa, and she wanted to know how Meredith felt about that. Meredith's like, it's your party, you could invite anybody you want to, but as far as Lisa and I, we don't have a relationship right now, and I really don't care to have one with her right now. So that was the gist of the trip or the day spa, but it was just interesting to see Meredith and Jen hanging out after they had their clash. Yes, Jen did apologize to Meredith at the reunion, but I'm glad they were able to get past it. All right, so we leave those scenes there, and then we are at home with Heather and Lisa. No, no, no. We are not at home. That was them going back and forth between Heather and Lisa, and between Jen and Meredith. So in the next scene, we have they kept flipping back and forth. So I had to take notes with each one. The next scene now we have Whitney at home, and Whitney comes in the kitchen. Her daughter Bobby is there. Well, her little notebook. I'm gonna ask her, so what are you writing? What is that you're doing? She said, I'm doing pros and cons regarding boys. Now, Bobby is 12 years old, and this is what she's doing. She has a pros and cons list as according to boys. And her mom was like, wait a minute, let me see what this is. And she had her little list going down the line. You had Justin come in the kitchen, like, this is something your daddy's gonna have to deal with. So Justin look at the list. He's like, the fact that there's more pros and cons, it's a problem for me, meaning that Bobby at this age should not be interested in boys. But when Heather came over and Whitney was like, girl, come help me because I don't know what to do about this. Heather was like, yeah, she's boy crazy at this time. They talk about the first time that they kissed boys, which was 15 years old. Her and Whitney said it, and Bobby was like, what? That's way too long. She's 12 years old, remind me. So that was funny to see. Heather looks over the list and she's like, girl, take that off. You'll never get that. Girl, move that from there to there. You'll never get it. It was really cute to see the interaction between Heather and little Bobby. So, okay, the adults now, they made some drinks and they went downstairs into the basement, and we see Justin just open up the bookcase to reveal a bar area. And I'm like, whoa, that is real neat. That was really nice. So they were like, we could lock it, away from the kids so they can't get in there. And remember, as Mormons, they're not supposed to be drinking. So that's why they got to hide it in the house in case you have other people who come over and you don't want to offend them. So therefore, you take it out of their view. So that was Justin showing Heather the bar area. Now they get in there. Whitney tells Heather that she wants to leave the Mormon church. And Heather is conflicted. She's like, even though I don't practice the lifestyle, it would really, in trying to keep my memory of my dad, because he was such a devout Mormon, and the fact that, even though her mother does not talk to her at this point, she doesn't think she would be as brave as Whitney is to actually leave the church. So Heather asked her, she's like, if you should leave the church today, what would change about your life? When she's like, nothing would change. She's like, but she gave her reasons why she wanted to leave. And one of them was like, she wanted a different lifestyle for her kids. She wanted her kids to have more options, outside of the Mormon church because it's very restricted, as they told us. They ran down the line of certain things that they were allowed to do and not do. And Whitney's like, I want my children to be able to experience a different life. So I'm actually doing this for my two kids. So Heather was like, so how do you do it? She's like, there is actually a website called quitmormon.com. So you go on there and you print out a paper, you check off some boxes, you sign it, and you mail it in. And within 5 days of accepting the paper from the individual, the Mormon take your name off this ledger. According to them, according to who was it, Whitney or Heather, they said that they keep a ledger of all Mormons, and they believe that this ledger is going to help you get into heaven. As far as when you reach the pearly gates or whatever, they're going to look to see if your name is on the list, and if not, then you're not allowed in. So they were just going into detail, a little, giving us a little bit as just to get us educated or keep us educated, because they've been giving us bits and pieces since the first season. So they were just giving us a little bit more as far as the Mormonism go. It's religion. Everybody has their different religion. So I am not going to go into rather to say if, it's right or wrong. I'm Christian. We have different types of religion, like I said. So I'm not going to go into detail. So Whitney printed the paper and signed it. They hugged each other, whatever, and she wished her well. But Heather, like I said, even though she hasn't practiced Mormonism, is it Mormonism? Or being a Mormon, she has not actually left the church just yet. So let's see if anything come of that further down the line. But Whitney has actually done it. Okay, now we have Jen at home. And we see in her new home that they moved to, she let us know that they had to downsize. We remember Coach Shah was having the conversation with her last season regarding that they need to downsize because they're going to need the money for her defense. And on top of that, she has to pay back some money to the victims of this scheme or whatever it was that her and her group were involved in. So Coach Shark, she's in there trying to light the fireplace with some help from somebody, and Coach Shark came in and told her, girl, leave it alone. Can you make me a cup of tea or something? Let's have a chat. So she let Coach Shark know that he's planning his 51st birthday party, and the theme is Harlem Nights. So Coach Shark's face was like, girl, that's a black movie, right? He's like, we're in Utah. Where do you see black people? We have a handful of black people here. What are you going to do? Import black people? And Jen was like, yes, I'm going to bring them in. She's like, I'm going to invite all your frat brothers. She's like, the ones that are here are coming. I'm going to invite others in. And, your parents, your family, and other people are going to come in. It turned out to be, we later on down the line, we see that it turned out to be really well. Now he was like, these people don't know anything about that movie. Now, for those who actually don't know about this movie, let me just read a little bit about the premise of the movie. That's actually one of my favorite movies. There's two scenes in that movie that I love. The scene where, Eddie Murphy finished the juice, drank most of the juice and left a little bit in there. That reminds me of my nephew. I have a nephew here that I helped to raise, and he will go in the refrigerator and drink the juice or the soda and take it down to the smallest amount and leave the bottle there because he don't want to finish it. So you know what I do? I'll leave it right there and don't put a new one in the refrigerator until it's done. So that part, I love that part of the movie. And when she was like, she cussed about the fact, who leaves a little bit of juice up in this? This doesn't make no sense. This can't even quench nobody's thirst. Why you would drag all that movie? If you watch the movie, you remember that part. And the other part that I like is that scene when they had the shootout and you heard the gun going. It was Eddie Murphy, I believe, and Arsenio Hall and somebody else. And then you heard the other guy gun go pop, pop. And he did pop, pop. Eddie Murphy took his hat off and hit him. He's like, pop. put away that little ass gun. What you gonna do with that little ass gun? Oh my God, that had me on the floor. So those are my two favorite scenes of the movie. So now the premise of the movie is, it says Harlem Nights tell the stories of those who hustle to make their dollars in a world set up for them to exist in poverty. It's kind of disheartening to see the lengths that Ray, Quick, and their circle have to go because a white criminal who has dirty detective on his side wants a piece of their pie. So that was the premise of the movie, that they had to protect their business against crooked cops and the mobsters. All right, so that's Coach Shaw's favorite movie, and Jen wanted to do that theme for the party. As we know, Jen put on some nice parties for Coach Shaw. I remember watching for the past 2 seasons, and I believe she did at least 3 different parties. I know she did one for Meredith, she did one for Coach Shaw at the bowling, was it golf course or bowling area? She did another one for, I think she also did another one back at the chalet. So if I remember correctly, she's been putting on quite some elaborate parties. So this, I'm sure, was gonna be good. Coach Shaw looked like he was into it after she assured him that there would be enough black people there. And actually, the guests at the party actually got the theme right, which was really, really good to see. So they talked about that for a while, and then he's talking to her about stuff that they got to get ready for the trial. She didn't want to really talk about it, but it was necessary because he's like, honey, we have to get to New York for pre-trial discussions and for what's upcoming. So because it's not discussed again in the rest of the episode, I'm gonna just talk about real quick what Jen pled to. So it said, as part of the plea deal, Shah pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and agreed to forfeit 6.5 million of proceeds traceable to the conspiracy and pay up to 9.5 million in restitution. She is also facing up to 30 years in federal prison. The charge of money laundering was dropped. But since that was printed in July 12th of 2022, I think the amount of years that she's facing has dropped to 14. So up to 14 years in prison, but they were able to recover $6.5 million, and she still have to pay back $9.2 million. So I don't know where she's going to get that money from. I mean, she's getting paid for this show, but I doubt that, that's enough to cover everything. And we might see Jen finish out season 3, but we don't know if she'll be here for season 4. We just have to keep watching to see. But all of her victims that, were taken advantage of, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for her. Because if you knew you were doing wrong, you don't do that to innocent people who have to work hard for their money just so you could live a lifestyle. I'm sure you could have done something, legitimate and still make money. But her and her crew, and I think they try to make it seem like she was the head honcho, but I don't know about that. I don't know if we'll ever find out the actual truth about what's going on. But as far as we know, Jen has taken a plea deal as as all of the other people, and she was the last one holding out, saying that she wasn't guilty. But I guess after speaking to her attorney and seeing what could happen if she faced a trial, that she would never have won because there was just too much evidence against her, that she took a plea deal in order to pay for her criminal activities and be able to probably make it back home to still have a life after this. So that was Jen and Coach at home. Now we have Meredith and Seth. Okay, this was interesting. Seth, another one of my favorite people because he's funny. I like people who are, humorous, make you laugh or whatever. So Seth comes in with groceries, and Meredith was like, ramen? Why you buying ramen noodles as if we're in college? And Seth was like, remember, I don't work, so we just got to eat what I can afford. He was referring to what Lisa said about him, being that, she said he doesn't work. So they start to unpack the groceries, and Meredith is talking to Seth. I guess he was her sounding boy. She needed to vent, and he had to be the one to take it because you could see Seth was uncomfortable at one point. He's not the type of guy to let anything get to him. He tried to make humor of everything, even at the point where he was following Meredith around the kitchen as to mimic John following Lisa around, because according to Meredith, she's asking, if you don't work, you're in control of 4,000 people. What does John do? All he does is run her errands for her. And then they show a clip of John's doing different errands for for Lisa throughout the past 2 years, or the past 2 seasons, I should say. So that was interesting to watch. So Seth asked Meredith directly, have you spoken to her? And she's like, no, I'm not. Why am I going to call her? And I agree, Meredith. Why are you going to call Lisa? She's the one who said all those mean and nasty things to you and about you. So why should you even call her? So she's like, she's here talking about us, where when I'm finding out that her business is in trouble. And Seth is like, what? He's like, according to the SEC documents, which are public, the company is in debt. So then she's saying that Lisa has been going around doing sexual favors in order for companies to buy her Vita tequila. It seems that the only person who drink that Vita tequila is Lisa when she goes to parties or she goes out to lunch, because everywhere she goes, she's like, I'll have a Vita tequila. Heather will have a Vita tequila also. And the waitress was like, this is when they met up for lunch. She was like, is that what you want? She's like, yes, I trust Lisa's alcohol choice. So she knows what she's doing. Heather, I caught that girl. I'm telling you, Heather is funny. So back to Meredith and Seth. Meredith was like, all of this information is public. You can find this right here on the SEC website. And then we have Meredith in confessional, and the producer asked her, so what have you heard about? She made a cryptic comment like people are doing sexual favors in order to get their business going. The producer's like, so are you telling me that Lisa is doing sexual favors? She's like, I don't know, the streets are talking. And then she picks up a cup that says I love New York on it and sips from it. She's sipping her tea from the I love New York cup. Girl, I caught that. So you're telling me that Lisa has been going all around New York, giving it up in order for people to buy her Vita tequila and sell it. And her company is in trouble? All right. So that's it. So Meredith was like, it's interesting that someone would throw away a 10-year friendship over skeletons that are in their own closet. Drops mic. Meredith, I like the way you're coming this season, girl. Remember last 2 seasons you were not engaging, but girl, you are coming with that tea this season. Keep it coming. Woo, on a side note, I am trying to figure out who's going to be the best dressed this weekend, because I watched the show also for the fashions. Now that Mary is gone, even though Mary has great pieces, she wasn't putting them together right. I wonder who's going to come with it. I'm thinking Angie, because as we know, Angie is going to be part of this season. So far in the first episode, in her confessional, I love Heather confessional look. I like Meredith's pink dress as well. I don't remember what the other ladies had on, but I was loving Heather's pearl shirt or whatever you call that, but it was looking nice. So maybe we're going to have maybe Heather will be the one to come through the season with the fashions. If it's not Heather, it's going to be Angie, based on the pictures that we've seen in this first episode that they showed, and based on her dress that she wore to the Harlem Nights party. All right, so that's just a little side note. So that was Seth and Meredith having a interesting conversation regarding Lisa and her antics and things that are supposed to be going on with her behind the scenes. All right, now we have the night of the party. Everyone is arriving. The place is beautiful. Angie's house is on a hill that overlooks the city, and we see it at night, and it is gorgeous. Her house is beautiful. We saw it in the daytime when Jen and Heather came over to talk about the setup for the party. I mean, her pieces in that house are gorgeous. Yes, you're going to hear me say that throughout this whole season. Gorgeous. Her house is beautiful in the daytime, and in the nighttime with the lights on, the house is beautiful. The view is gorgeous. So everybody is arriving now one by one. We actually see the ladies greeting each other. Everyone is dressed really nice. Angie's dress is beautiful. Whitney looked great. Heather looked great. Lisa looks great. Meredith and John, everybody just looks good. Then we see Coach Shah and Jen pull up, and they pull up in a car that's similar to the car that was used in the movies from the 1930s. I mean, she is taking the whole theme to a new level, but she did it. She pulled it off nice. Coach Shah looked at the house. He's like, "Yep, this is the way it should be looking." And they walk up the stairs and greet everyone. Of course, Jen is on the step and repeat. The way she comes in, everybody's greeting her. We thinking it's her party. Jen, it's Coach Shaw's 51st birthday, but we know you gotta take the spotlight from him a little bit. And comes in and he greets everyone. We see Coach Shaw go over and he talks to Heather and he's asking her about Ashley and her what's going on with her in school and stuff like that. Heather lets him know that Ashley's getting straight A's, which is great to hear. We also see Glenn Davis from the Celtics, aka Big Baby, and he's talking to people. And Heather says to Coach Shaw, "Introduce me. You know, I wanna know. I wanna go from Big Daddy to Big Baby or something to that effect." The fact that Heather is so open to meeting people, I like that. I like that about her. We also see Cherie's mom. Cherie's mom is gorgeous, beautiful skin, great attitude. Now you see where he get his personality from. She was just nice to see. I mean, the whole party was just fun. I mean, people were, some parties you go to, people are just standing to themselves, not interacting. Everybody was just interacting and getting to know each other and just having a great time. And that's how a party should be. Then Angie gets the room quiet so that Jen could give a speech. And she gave a beautiful speech regarding her husband and stuff. And somewhere within that speech, we have Coach Shaw goes in a confessional and he says the most scariest thing that he could think of right now is life without his wife. And, that touched my heart because it's going to happen. Jen is going to do, if she doesn't, I will really be surprised. But I believe Jen will do some time in prison and she's going to have to be away from her family for a little while. And I'm sure it's going to hurt him because Coach Shaw is one of the most positive people on this show. It's the most likable guy that there is and it's going to be sad to see him sad. After that speech from Jen, he cut his cake and him and his frat brothers do the frat dance. I think that's what it's called. I mean, I've seen it in other movies and stuff. Don't know the name of the fraternity or the dance if it does have a name, but it was just good to see that we see people cutting it up on the dance floor. It was just a nice party to see. I'm actually having fun watching them have fun. Then at some point, we see Seth and John come together. It was kind of a little bit awkward because, if your wives are clashing, how dare you talk? And then Seth said John said to Seth, maybe if we could get away one day, you and I could get together and just have some time with the guys. So hopefully that would happen because, they had a good relationship as far as a group of guys. We also see Big Baby flirting with Heather at the card table. So that was interesting to see as well. I'm telling you, they were having a good time. Then we see Whitney and Heather and Lisa talking, and they were like, you know what? Before Jen goes to New York, I think she had a court date in New York. She's like, let's plan a quick trip just to get away for a few days. So they plan a trip to Scottsdale, Arizona, which we're going to see in the next episode. So that was a quick trip that was planned. Now, just before the episode ended, we see Lisa and she's talking to some people in the group and she's walking past and she walked past Meredith. Not really walked past Meredith. She was about to walk past Meredith, but she decided to stop and say something really quickly. And this is after she's been at the party for however long. She goes over and she talks to Meredith like, this is not the time or place, but I would really like to get to talk to you. And Meredith's like, all right, we'll set something up later. Of course, Meredith goes in a confessional. Is like, what? 2 months? And now you decided that now is the time you want to say something to me. You could have called me in 2 months, but now at this party, you want to talk to me? So, okay. That was in her confessional, not to Lisa. So after Lisa said that to Meredith, she's walked over to Seth and I guess she felt that Seth was a little bit more open, so she tried to plead her case to Seth. Seth was like, whatever you said hurt us really badly. It affected our business. And the fact that we've known each other for so long, for you to say things like that, it really hurt. So, of course, in a nutshell, Lisa said, I didn't mean it. I don't remember. I was hurting. So eventually the conversation ended. Meredith was talking to Seth. She's like, what was happening over there? And Seth said basically she's not trying to own what she did. She's making excuses for it. Like, when are you going to realize that you have to take accountability for your actions and not just brush it off and try to say that you didn't say anything? So that is where the episode ended. I don't think that she made any real headway with Seth because, like I said, he's one of the most reasonable people. And for him to actually say that about Lisa, that means that she wasn't even really trying at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see the conversation that happens between Lisa and Meredith going forward. So in the next episode, we're going to see the ladies take the quick trip to Scottsdale, Arizona, and the discussions that were being had. At the top of the episode, like I told you, they gave us the highlights for the season, and it shows where Whitney and Heather are clashing. That's what stood out to me because these are the two that have been going strong since the beginning of the franchise started. So to see them clashing, it's concerning to me. And I guess for the entire season, we're going to get to see it played out where Jen is eventually going to lead up to seeing her going through her court cases or court procedure or whatever it's called. So that's the recap and the review of the first episode of season 3 of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, titled Revenge Marks the Spot. As I said before, this is one of my favorite Housewives franchise. So you're going to be getting a review on every single episode leading up to the reunion. And Real Housewives of Potomac is starting pretty soon. I'll be reviewing that as well. So make sure that you subscribe in order to be notified of when I post new reviews and that you don't miss anything. So thanks for listening / watching. And until next time, be sure to take care of yourselves and your families. Bye-bye.